All right, let's talk about cracking the code for what's got to be one of the toughest B school admissions out there, getting into IIM Ahmedabad. We're going to break it all down.
So what does it really take to get in? You hear all sorts of things, right? Well, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're looking straight at the official rulebook, the actual selection criteria for the 2025 to 2027 batch. This is the real deal.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're gonna walk through this whole thing step by step, just like you would as an applicant. We'll start with that first hurdle, then getting the interview call, the final showdown, and then we'll wrap it up with your admission blueprint.
All right, first things first. Before we get into any of the fancy calculations or composite scores, you've got to clear the first hurdle. Think of it as the first gatekeeper. This is stage 1, simple eligibility. So these are the absolute must-haves. You need a bachelor's degree with at least 50%, or a professional course like CA. And of course, a valid CAT score. These are non-negotiable. If you don't meet these basic criteria, your application, well, it doesn't even get looked at. It's as simple as that. Now, this is super important to understand. Look at these CAT percentiles. These are just the minimums to qualify. Getting a 95th percentile if you're in the general category doesn't guarantee you a call. Not even close. It just means you've made it to the next round of consideration. The actual cutoffs to get an interview, oh, they're usually way, way higher. Okay, so you've passed the first test. Awesome. But now, welcome to stage 2. This is where things get really interesting. The competition seriously ramps up here because this is where they decide who gets that all-important interview call. And how do they do that? Well, it all comes down to something called a composite score, or CS. And check this out. Your CAT score is a huge piece of this puzzle, a massive 65%. The other 35% is made up of what they call your application rating, or AR. So you're probably asking, what on earth is this application rating score? Basically, it's IMA's way of looking at you as a whole person, not just a test score. It's a number they calculate based on your academic history, your work experience, basically everything you've done up to this point. So let's break that AR score down even further. It's actually made up of 5 different parts. You've got scores for your 10th grade marks, your 12th grade marks, your bachelor's degree, your work experience, and even diversity factors. You can see right here how your school grades get turned into points. It's pretty straightforward. The higher your percentage, the more points you get. If you scored over 90% in 10th and 12th, boom, you get the full 10 points for each. And here's a cool little detail. The table shows the brackets for the science stream, but if you're from commerce or arts, the percentage brackets are actually a little more lenient. It's their way of encouraging a mix of academic backgrounds. And yeah, your work experience definitely counts. They literally count the number of months you've worked and give you points for it. The scoring kicks in once you've crossed 11 months, and the more experience you have, up to a point, the better your score. So having at least a year under your belt, that gives you a real leg up. All right, let's fast forward. Your killer composite score worked. You got the call. You're into the final stage, the final showdown. But here's the twist. Everything you thought was important is about to get flipped on its head. You really need to see how the weights change now. And here it is. Just look at that donut chart. Your personal interview, the PI, is now worth a mind-blowing 50% of your final score. Half. And your CAT score, that powerhouse that was worth 65% to get you here, it drops all the way down to just 25%. This is the real game changer in the whole process. So with that much writing on it, what are they even looking for in the PI? Well, it's everything. They're checking out your communication skills, what you know about the world, your career plans, your personality, your leadership potential, the whole shebang. They're not just looking for someone who can ace a test. They're looking for the leaders of tomorrow. Okay, we've seen all the stages. So now let's pull it all together. What does this mean for you? Let's build a simple, clear blueprint for how to tackle this. This slide right here tells the whole story. Think of it as a 2-part game. Part 1 is all about the numbers, a high CAT score and a strong application rating. That's what gets you in the door, what gets you the interview. But part 2, that's all about you. Your scores get you a ticket to the final round, but it's your performance in that interview and writing test that actually wins you the prize. So what can you do? What's your strategy? Well, first, you absolutely have to crush the CAT. No way around it. While you're doing that, build up your profile, good grades, solid work experience. Then you've got to prepare like crazy for that PI and the AWT. And when you get there, be yourself, be confident, and, show them you actually want to go to their school. Do your research on IIM Ahmedabad. So that leaves us with one final question, and this one's for you. Now that you know the exact formula, where do you need to focus? Is it your CAT score, your academic profile, or is it your interview skills? Because honestly, just understanding how the game is played, that's the first and most important step to winning it.